Hello everyone. So in the previous class we discussed about algebraic and transcendental extensions. We knew that a field extension is said to be algebraic if every element of that set is algebraic. If at least one of the element is not algebraic, then it is transcendental extension. Let's continue the discussion. Now let's see the remark. Suppose if K is subset of complex number set and the extension of Q over Q, which is K, is finite, then every element is algebraic. And in fact, your K will be contained in Q bar, which is collection of all algebraic numbers. Now let's move on to a theorem. Suppose F is subset of K and K is subset of L, and it's a field extension, then we have to show that dimension of L over F is same as dimension of L over K multiplied by dimension of K over F. And further, if one side of the equation is infinite, then the other side is also infinite. First, let us prove this case for finite. Suppose if the dimension of L over K is, say, n, and dimension of the field extension K over F is m, then we have to show that the dimension of L over F is mn. Now, since the dimension of this vector space over K is n, so there exists n elements in the basis, let us say alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. up to alpha n, which is a basis for this vector space L over K. And since dimension of K over F is m, there exists m elements in K which spans K, say beta 1, beta 2, etc. up to beta m. Then we have to show that the vector space L over F is spanned by mn elements. That is alpha into beta j, where I runs from 1 to n and j runs from 1 to m. We'll show that this set is a basis of the vector space L over F, or the field extension L of F. When we say a set is a basis, certain set is said to be a basis provided that set spans L, N, it is linearly independent. What is meant by set spans, this set of vector spans this set? If every element of L can be written as linear combination of alpha into beta j. So let us say alpha is any arbitrary element in L. Then we have to show that alpha can be written as linear combination of this. Now remember, alpha is an element in L, and since L is the extension field of K, there exists elements, say A1, A2, etc. up to An in K, such that alpha is equal to A1 alpha 1 plus A2 alpha 2, etc. up to An alpha n. Now remember, each AI is in K, and your K is the extension field of F. So every element of K can be written as linear combination of beta 1, beta 2, etc. up to beta m, because these are the basis vectors and they span K. So every element, say AI in K, is a linear combination of beta 1, beta 2, etc. up to beta m. As we have written every element of L as a linear combination of alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. up to alpha n, because this is basis. So we can write linear combination like this. In the same way, every element of K can be written as a linear combination of vectors beta 1, beta 2, etc. up to beta m, where coefficients come from F. So let's say there exists some bi1, bi2, etc. up to bam, which are in F. Therefore, each ai is a linear combination of betas. That is some bij into beta j, where j runs from 1 to m. For example, if you say I equal to 1, then a1 will be linear combination b11 beta 1 plus b12 beta 2 plus etc. up to b1m beta m. So in the same way, you can write all the coefficients a1 to an. Now, what is your alpha? Your alpha is this, which is summation I from 1 to n ai alpha I. But we know that ai is summation j from 1 to m bij beta j. Substitute that one. Now, since we can take out the coefficients, we'll rewrite this one as summation I from 1 to n, summation j from 1 to m bij into alpha I into beta j, which is a linear combination of alpha I into beta j, where I runs from 1 to n and j runs from 1 to m. So we have written every vector alpha as a linear combination of these vectors, and there are mn vectors are there. Therefore, alpha is a linear combination of mn elements. Therefore, these mn elements span L. We now show that these mn elements are linearly independent over F. We know that set of vectors are said to be linearly independent provided if their linear combination is equal to 0. Say summation I from 1 to n, summation j from 1 to m, bij alpha into beta j equal to 0. Then we have to show that each of the coefficient bij is 0. But we can write this linear combination as summation I from 1 to m of summation j from 1 to m bij beta j. Now, let us say this is some ai. We knew that this is of the form summation I from 1 to n. If I assume this as ai, then ai into alpha I is equal to 0. If we expand this, then you'll get a1 alpha 1 plus a2 alpha 2 etc. up to an alpha n equal to 0. And remember, your alpha 1, alpha 2 etc. up to alpha n is a basis. Therefore, any linear combination of these vector, if it is equal to 0, then each of the coefficient must be 0. Therefore, each of this coefficient will be equal to 0. So, summation j from 1 to n bij beta j must be equal to 0. And remember, again, because these are belonging to k and your beta 1, beta 2, etc. up to beta m is a basis for k. Therefore, this linear combination, if it is equal to 0, that is beta 1, beta I1, beta 1 plus bi2, beta 2, etc. up to bim, beta m equal to 0, then each of the coefficient must be equal to 0. Therefore, your each bij will be equal to 0. So we have proved every coefficient bij is equal to 0 whenever the linear combination of alpha I beta j equal to 0. Therefore, this set of vectors is linearly independent. So we have proved there are mn elements are there in this set which spans and linearly independent over L. Therefore, this set forms a basis of L. Therefore, dimension of L over F is Mn. And we knew that our M is L over K into, Mn is L over K into K over F. And this completes the proof. Now, we have proved that for finite case, suppose L over F is, dimension of L over F is infinite. If L over F is infinite, then the right hand side, in the right hand side at least one of them must be infinite. Otherwise, for if both are finite, then product of these two dimensions which are finite will be finite. Therefore, by the above result, we have proved that if they are finite, the dimension of L over K into K over F will be the dimension of L over F. Therefore, dimension of L over F is also finite, which is a contradiction because the dimension of L over F is infinite. Therefore, at least one of these two must be infinite. Therefore, this completes the proof. Now, corollary. Suppose L over F is a finite extension field and K is any subfield of L containing F. Then we have to show that the dimension of L over K and K over F are divisors of L over F. Already by the above result we are having dimension of L over F is L over K, dimension of L over K into dimension of K over F. And this is of the form A equal to B into C, which implies B divides A as well as C divides A. So by that, this completes the proof. Now, I had given exercise, you just work it out and write it as an assignment. Remember what it says, suppose F is a subset of R, where F is field and R is an integral domain. If R is finite dimensional as a vector space, then R itself is a field. We are going to use this problem in future. Remember, if F is a field of an integral domain, and if R itself is a finite dimensional vector space, then R itself is a field. Now let's move on to a theorem. What it says, suppose F is subset of E is a field extension, then we have to show that if alpha is transcendental over F, then F of alpha is isomorphic to F of X. The collection of all polynomials of alpha is isomorphic to collection of all polynomials over X. And if alpha is algebraic over F, then we have to show that the dimension of the extension field F alpha over F is less than or equal to degree of F of X, where F of X is any non-zero polynomial such that alpha is root of that polynomial. And consequently, F of alpha itself is a field. Okay, let's prove this one. Let us prove the first one. We have to show that these two polynomials sets are congruent to each other. Okay, let's prove it. Let us define a mapping, evaluation mapping phi from F of X to E defined by phi of F of X equal to F of alpha. Now, because alpha is transcendental over F and F is contained in E, clearly this mapping is homomorphism. Why? If you consider phi of F of X plus G of X, then we can write that one as F plus G of alpha, which is F of alpha plus G of alpha, which is phi of F of X plus phi of G of X. And since alpha is transcendental, you should note that there exists no non-zero polynomial for which your alpha will be a root. That means there exists no F of X for which F of alpha will be equal to 0. That means F of alpha will never be non-zero. Now let us find the kernel of this mapping. What is your kernel of this mapping? Kernel phi is equal to collection of all F of X which are polynomials in capital F of X. So polynomials F of X belongs to capital F of X such that F of phi of F of X must be equal to 0. But what is your phi of F of X? It is F of alpha. So you are considering all those polynomials of F of X for which your F of alpha will be 0. But since alpha is transcendental, your F of alpha will never be 0 for any non-zero polynomial. So the only option is if the polynomial is 0 polynomial, then phi of 0 will be 0. Therefore, kernel contains only 0. Now, we have proved this mapping is homomorphism and kernel contains only 0. Now, what about the range of this mapping? Range of this mapping is collection of all those images where each of f is coming from domain. That is collection of all f of alphas, because phi of f of x is nothing but f of alphas, such that your f of x should be in f of x. But this is nothing but set f of capital alpha. That is collection of all polynomials of alpha. And we knew that since it is ring homomorphism, and by instead of taking E, if I take f of alpha, this f of alpha, then this mapping is homomorphism and onto. Homomorphism and onto. Because if I replace this E by f of alpha, then every element of f of alpha is having a mapping from f of x. Therefore, this becomes onto also. Then, by fundamental theorem of homomorphism of rings, domain f of x divided by kernel is isomorphic to codomain f of alpha. But f of x by kernel 0 is nothing but f of x only, is isomorphic to f of alpha. And this completes the proof. Now let's move on to second one. Suppose alpha is algebraic over f. Then we knew that by the definition of algebraic elements that there exists a non-zero polynomial in f of x, say some f of x, such that f of alpha is 0. And let us assume that the degree of f of x is some n. Then we will show that these vectors 1, alpha, alpha square, etc. up to alpha to the power of n minus 1, these n vectors span f of alpha. Remember, we have to show that if alpha is algebraic over f, then the dimension of the extension field f of alpha over f is less than or equal to degree of f of x. And we have chosen degree of f of x is n. Therefore, we have to show that the dimension of f of alpha over f is less than or equal to n. That means we have to show that in the basis of f of alpha, there exists at most n values, n elements. That is what we have to show. That is why we are going to show that 1 alpha, alpha square, etc. up to alpha to the power of n minus 1 spans f of alpha. That means these n vectors spans this. If these are linearly independent, then these vectors becomes the basis of this. Therefore, basis contains n elements. Or the number of elements which are spanning f of alpha, and if there is, if suppose this set is linearly dependent, then we have to remove certain elements so that that set becomes linearly independent and spans. That becomes a basis. But the number of elements in that set will be less than n because we have removed certain elements. So anyhow, in any of the case, the dimension of f of alpha over f will be less than or equal to n. So at most, it can have n elements. So let's show this set spans f of alpha. That means every element of f of alpha can be written as linear combination of this. But remember, every element of f of alpha is a polynomial over alpha. So let us consider g of alpha is a polynomial of f of alpha for some g belongs to f of x. And remember, your f of x, where f is a field, is a Euclidean domain. Therefore, we can apply division algorithm. By division algorithm, if you divide this, then from f, then we are going to get g is equal to f into q plus r, where q and r are quotient and rational polynomials defined over f of x. Now, remember, there is a condition that your R, that is remainder, should be either 0 or degree of R is less than degree of the divisor F. What is the degree of divisor F? It is n. So your degree of R must be less than n. Now, what is your g of alpha then? We knew that our g of x is equal to f of x into q of x plus r of x. G of x equal to f of x into q of x plus r of x. Therefore, what is your g of alpha? It is f of alpha into q of alpha plus r of alpha. But remember, your alpha is algebraic. And we have assumed that f of alpha is 0. So if we replace this by 0, 0 into anything becomes 0. Simply your g of alpha will be equal to r of alpha. But remember, your r of x is a remainder which is a polynomial in f of x. And let us say r of x equal to a naught plus a1x etc. up to an minus 1 into x to the power of n minus 1. Because your r will be either 0 or degree of r should be less than n. If r is 0, then r of alpha is 0. If r of alpha is 0, then g of alpha is 0. There is nothing to prove. So that's why let us assume the degree of r is less than degree of f. Since degree of f is n, your degree of r must be less than n. So here we have assumed r of x is a polynomial of degree n minus 1. Therefore, r of alpha is equal to a naught plus a1 alpha etc. up to an minus 1 into alpha to the power of n minus 1. But your r of alpha is nothing but g of alpha. So we have written g of alpha as linear combination of 1 alpha etc. up to alpha to the power of n minus 1. But g of alpha is a element of f of alpha, and we have written every element of f of alpha as linear combination of these vector. Therefore, the number of elements in the basis of f of alpha can be at most n. That is, it may have the number of elements in the basis less than or equal to n, which is degree of f of x. So this completes first part. And the second part is, we have to show that consequently f of alpha is itself is a field. Remember, your f of alpha over f is finite dimensional, and we knew that f is contained in f of alpha. F is a field and f of alpha is an integral domain. Then by the above problem which we discussed here, which says if f is a subset of R and f is field and R is an integral domain, where this R is a finite dimensional vector space, then R itself is a field. So since we have proved our f of alpha is a vector space, finite dimensional vector space, and f is contained in f of alpha and f is a field, therefore by that result f of alpha itself is a field. But remember, we knew that the field of quotients of f of alpha is f of simple bracket alpha. But when this itself is a field, then f of this alpha is same as f of simple bracket alpha. That is what we are going to prove in this theorem. Now what it says, this theorem, suppose E is the field extension of f and alpha is in E, then we have to prove that following are equivalent. Okay, let's prove this. Suppose alpha is algebraic over f. Assume that alpha is algebraic over f. Then we have to show that the dimension of f of alpha over f is finite. Okay, so let's prove this. Suppose alpha is algebraic over f. Then by the above result, the dimension of f of alpha over f is less than or equal to n, which is degree of f of x. Therefore, it is obvious that it is finite. So clearly it follows from the previous theorem. Now let us prove 2 implies 3. Now what is your dimension of f of alpha over f? It is finite. And by the above problem, if because we know that f of alpha is an integral domain and is finite dimensional vector space. Therefore, this itself is a field, which is also following from this result. Now let us prove 3 implies 4. That is, f of alpha is a field, then this implies this. That is what I said at the end of this theorem. If f of alpha itself is a field, we know that the field of quotient of this f of alpha is this. But when this itself is a field, then these two must be same. So your f of alpha is equal to f of this alpha. Now let's prove 4 implies 1. That is, if f of alpha equal to f of alpha, this f of alpha, then we have to show that alpha is algebraic over f. Suppose, assume the contradiction. Assume that alpha is transcendental. Then by the above theorem, your f of alpha is isomorphic to f of x. And this f of x is not a field. But here, we have assumed that our f of alpha is equal to f of this alpha, which is a field. Therefore, if alpha is transcendental, then this cannot be a field, which is a contradiction. Therefore, our assumption is wrong. Hence, alpha is algebraic. This completes the theorem. Now, let's move on to next theorem. What it says, suppose E is an extension field of F, and if A is the collection of all alphas belonging to E, where alpha is algebraic over F. Then we have to show that A is a subfield of E containing F. That means we have to show that F is contained in A is contained in E, and A is a subfield. So what we have to show? We have to show that F is contained in A is contained in E, and A is a subfield of E. Okay, let's prove F is contained in A first. Now, let us say alpha is a element in F. Then alpha is the root of this polynomial. So we are having a non-zero polynomial for which alpha is a algebraic over F. And what is your A? Your A contains those alphas which are algebraic over F. Therefore, alpha belongs to A. So alpha, which was an element in F, is now present in A. Therefore, F is subset of A. Now, let us prove A is a subfield. We knew that in order to show that it is a subfield, it is enough to show that if alpha and beta are any two elements of A, then we have to show that alpha minus beta and alpha by beta are in A, where beta is non-zero. Okay, let us consider alpha and beta are in A. If alpha is in A, then by the above result, because any element which belongs to A is algebraic over F, if alpha is algebraic over F, then f of alpha is a field. So by that result, f of alpha is field. Now similarly, beta belongs to A, and so beta is algebraic over F. And remember, your F is contained in f of alpha. Therefore, this beta is algebraic over f of alpha also. Therefore, since beta is algebraic over f of alpha, by this result, if beta is algebraic over f of alpha, then by this result, f of alpha of beta is a field. So, f of alpha of beta is a field. And remember, the dimension of f of alpha of beta over f of alpha is finite. And since alpha is algebraic, f of alpha over f is also finite. And by the previous theorems, that is, the dimension of L over F is dimension of L over K into dimension of K over F. By that result, dimension of f of alpha of beta over F is dimension of f of alpha of beta over f of alpha into dimension of f of alpha over F. Since both are finite, their product is also finite. Therefore, this is a finite extension field. That is, f of alpha of beta over F is finite. And we know that any finite extension is algebraic extension. Therefore, every element of this set is algebraic over F. And remember, this set contains both alpha and beta. So since alpha and beta are present in this, and this is a integral domain, your alpha minus beta, and you proved, in fact, you have proved that this is a field. So your alpha minus beta and alpha by beta both belongs to this. And since this is an algebraic extension, every element of this must be algebraic. Since these two belongs to this, your alpha minus beta and alpha by beta both are algebraic. So we have proved alpha minus beta and alpha by beta are algebraic over F. And we know that our set A contains all the algebraic elements over F. Therefore, your A contains alpha by beta, alpha minus beta and alpha by beta. And this proves that A is a field. In fact, A is a subfield of E. And where every element of A comes from E. Therefore, A is subset of E. And your F is contained in A. Therefore, A is a subfield of E containing F. And this completes the proof. Now let's move on to next theorem. What it says, suppose E is the extension field of F and L is the extension field of E, such that the extension of E over F and L over E are algebraic, then we have to show that the extension of L over F is also algebraic. Now, first of all, you should note that if alpha 1 is algebraic over F, then by previous to previous theorem, your F of alpha 1 is field. And if alpha 2 is algebraic over F, then F is, because your F is contained in F of alpha 1, your alpha 2 is algebraic over F of alpha 1 of alpha 2 also. It is algebraic over F of alpha 1 also. Therefore, F of alpha 1 alpha 2 is a field. By this result, I am saying this. If alpha is algebraic over F, then F of alpha is field. If suppose beta is algebraic over F, because F is contained in F of alpha, beta is algebraic over F of this. Therefore, F of alpha of beta is a field. So if you consider n number of vectors, say alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. up to alpha n, if they are algebraic over F, then by that result, your alpha 1 is algebraic, therefore F of alpha 1 is field. If our alpha 2 is algebraic over F of alpha 1, therefore F of alpha 1 of alpha 2 is a field, etc. Alpha n is algebraic, therefore this of alpha n is a field. But this is nothing but the field generated by alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. up to alpha n. And in fact, this is a finite extension by above result. Now, we have to show that L over F is an algebraic extension. That means every element of L is algebraic over F. That is what we need to prove. So let us say alpha is an arbitrary element of L. Then we have to show that alpha is algebraic. That means there exists a non-zero polynomial over F for which your alpha is a root. Now, remember your alpha is a vector in L and L over E is algebraic. That means there exists a non-zero polynomial in E for which your alpha is a root or 0. Let us say F is a polynomial in E of X such that F of alpha is 0. And let us say F of X is an x to the power of n, etc. up to a0, where each ai comes from E. And remember, your E over F is also algebraic. That means every element of E is algebraic. That means there exists a non-zero polynomial in F of X for which your ai will be a root. So let us say A0. A0 is a algebraic element of F. Therefore, there exists a non-zero polynomial. Therefore, F of A0 like this. F of A0 is a field and it is a finite extension by the above result. and your A1 is also algebraic over F. Therefore, since your F is contained in F of A naught, by this way, your A1 will be algebraic over that. Therefore, F of A naught comma A naught of A1 is a field and it is finite, etc. Go on, proceed like this. Therefore, this is a finite extension of F. And remember your polynomial F of x, which is an x to the power of n, etc. up to a1x plus a naught. Here each of the coefficient is coming from e, but this is nothing but one and the same, these coefficients. Therefore, your f of x also belongs to k of x. And alpha is algebraic over k, because your f of alpha is 0. Now, since alpha is algebraic over k, by the above results, your k of alpha is a finite extension of k. So your k of alpha over k is finite extension, and we know that this is also a finite extension of f. Therefore, k of alpha over f is also finite extension. And we knew that every finite extension is algebraic. Therefore, every element of k of alpha is algebraic over f. And this set contains also alpha also. Therefore, alpha is algebraic over f in particular. Since alpha is an arbitrary element of L, we have proved every element of L is algebraic over f. Hence, L over f is an algebraic extension. Thank you.